friends, followers and fellow flight simmers. Welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator and another video with Boeing 247D. I was trying to learn this aircraft for the last couple of days and trying to maintain the engines and not to have any problems. I have to admit I had a couple engine problems, 3-4 times. I had engines on fire, I ditched the aircraft multiple times and didn't complete the flight. So today we are going to attempt to do a full flight with radio range navigation and see if we can complete this flight. And I will also give you some tips about starting the engines and how you can get them started in the first try, because that's a challenging part of this aircraft. We are currently parked at Florence Regional Airport in United States, south side close to Florida. And we will be traveling to Charleston International. We have 82 miles to go to our destination airport, and we will be tracking a single radio range navigation station. Let me bring the little nav map window and explain our flight plan and do the briefing before we do anything else. So you see, that is our aircraft at Florence Regional. We have a radio range navigation station here, November Whiskey Romeo at frequency 524, and the headings are 10, 109er, 190, and 289er. So we will be departing runway 19er, and I think we will be tracking heading 19er to see if we are going to get a solid signal from that station. We will do all that before we take off, but let me remove the little nav map window and get the aircraft started. Just to reiterate, what we are going to do is we will take off, fly the runway heading, and try to capture a solid signal that will guide us towards this radio station at about 82 miles. And when we do that, we'll make a right turn to visually intercept the runways of Charleston Airport and try to land to runway 33. That is the plan, and we'll see how successfully we can execute that plan. Alright, let's jump into the cockpit. Let's get things started. I removed the yoke for ease of visibility, or better visibility rather. Okay, let's start with turning our battery power on. So we are going to select both tanks for the engine distribution dial, and we will start with right tank to feed the engines. Primer master valve is on. That's not the engine master valve, so that's the primer master valve. Be careful. And we'll prime the left engine first 3 times. That's done. We'll turn our nav lights to on, and let's bring our clipboard. So we are completely loaded, cargo and passengers. Our oil is topped off. We can remove the wheel chocks because we have parking brakes set. We don't need that. And speaking of oil, we are using SAE30, which is good for 20 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and outside air temperature is 80 Fahrenheit right now. This oil should do. Choosing a different oil might give you problems in terms of oil pressure might go too high if you are using the wrong oil, or temperatures will be too low or too high, which will damage your engines when you are trying to navigate. Alright, that is done. We prime the engine. We will turn the magnetos to on and ignition master switch to on. And from there, we will just use the wobble pump. And when we are using, I want you to pay attention to these 2 gauges for fuel pressure. We need to be about 5 square inches for proper fuel pressure to start the engines in our first try. While we are here, the other thing we are going to do is look at the directional gyro and our current heading in our compass. We are facing towards east, so that's 090 heading, and that's 5, so 095 is our heading, and this is set to 0, so we need to make this match our heading of 095 roughly. So that should now align with what we have in our compass for situational awareness and navigation purposes. Alright, we are ready to start our engines. We are going to get the ladders on both engines, and we will start wobbling the pump to go above 5 inches, like so. And when we let go of the pump, it will start dropping, so we need to keep pumping as our engineer starts winding up the flywheel to start our engines. Also, we need to increase our full mixture, props full forward, and crack open the throttles more than what you think is enough. In this aircraft, it's a must, and we'll keep pumping and we'll see if we can start the engines in the first try. Alright, it's ready, and we didn't get. So let's prime again, because the mixtures were off. That's maybe why we didn't prime the engine properly. So now it should do. Let's try this again and wind up the flywheel. And keep pumping. Keep it above 5 inches and mesh the flywheel. And there we go. Left engine started. Second try, we will idle around 9800 RPM, this gauge right here, and we will do the same thing for the right engine. First change the primer selector, and 1, 2, 3, 4 pushes to prime. Operate the wobble pump above 5, bring up the clipboard, wind up the flywheel, and keep wobbling until the engine is ready to mesh, or the flywheel is ready to mesh. Alright, almost there. We should see a green signal. There we go. Let's hit it. And there we go. First try, right engine. So priming is very important when you are starting the engines. If you cannot start, I recommend you to prime again and make sure your mixture is full rich. So both engines are running, wheel chocks are removed. We will monitor the T's and P's here in a little bit. And the directional gyro started to change because, okay, this is something I need to correct, because we didn't have suction. Right engine gives the gyro suction, so our setting was wrong. So we are still at 095, but this setting is wrong, so we need to readjust this. And remember to do this after you start the engines, because there is no suction, so this will not display anything without the suction. We can turn off the primer selector, we can turn off the primer master valve right now, and check our T's and P's. Oil pressure is looking good, oil temp is looking good, so we are pretty much ready to taxi to the runway. And the runway, speaking of which, is right in front of us over there. So we will take this taxiway in front of us. Let me show from outside. And that is the runway. Very short taxi. And if you look at the windsock, it's favoring this side of the runway, 19er. So we should be good on that front. Alright, let's release the parking brake. She should start rolling on her own. If not, we can give a little bit throttle to get her moving. There we go. Slowly getting her on the taxiway, and you might have to change your view to see the taxiway and the markings on the ground. Let's bring the throttles back a little bit. She is a little bit faster than I like. One thing to note here, don't bring the throttles all the way to idle. That gives problems with the engines. And you might lose the engines if it's less than 600 RPM. So keep it there. Taxi slowly. Use your brakes if you have to. And you will get there in no time. Alright. This is the runway. We will make this right turn, slow her down a little bit, line up, see if we can hear the radio one more time, because I'm not hearing anything and we should be hearing the radio right now if we have tuned the right frequency. Let's stop here, take a look at our avionics switch. Let's turn our avionics master to on. That might be why it wasn't tuned. So the frequency is 524. We will change the band to 5 to 800 kilocycles or kilohertz, and we will tune 524 all the way to the other end. 530, there we go, 52. We are almost receiving a solid signal, so no need to make too much changes. And I will change the volume a little bit. It gets annoying. We barely hear that, and let's do our takeoff run. Increase the throttle to the white arc until the engines are stable. Release the brakes and go to the end of the white arc. That's takeoff thrust set. Let's bring her center, or let's center the runway. There is a little bit of crosswind and she tends to go to the left. I'm applying full right rudder almost to keep her on the runway. And there we go, airspeed is live. We are getting to the takeoff speed, or rotate speed rather. Now lift the nose, come back on the yoke slightly, and she should lift off the ground, no problem. Positive rate. Gear is coming up. Beautiful. We are climbing nicely. Come back on the throttles now to the start of the white arc and get the RPM down to 2100 RPM for climb. Now we will trim her just a little bit to maintain a steady climb of 700-800 feet per minute, and we will try to follow that beam. So remember, we need to fly 190. So now the signal changed, as you hear. It's coming back. Almost solid tone, not quite, but we are there watching our engine instruments, oil temperature, oil pressure, to make sure they are within the limits and they are not too crazy. Watching our turn coordinator to make sure we are not drifting, because there is no autopilot, so we need to manage everything manually. We can climb a little bit faster. Let's trim up just a little bit. Not quite solid, so we might have to hunt the frequency. Okay, let's turn right a little bit to see if we can get a solid tone. But that sounds about right, so we are getting a solid tone as we travel right. Very steady flight. She's flying nicely. If you are interested about this livery, I found it under flightsim.to and decided to use this, even though it's not the proper livery for this part of United States, I believe. So they are not matching. So this is, oh no, they are matching. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 195. We are okay. We need to keep going to the right, and then that should keep us on the perfect beam with a solid tone. I'm gonna lower the volume a little bit. we will climb to this is our altimeter saying. There is something wrong with this. We are definitely more than 100 feet above the ground, but I'm not sure if the altimeter is working properly. Is that setting? Let's check the weather information quickly. Altimeter is 3017. Set our altimeter to 3017. That might be my mistake that I didn't do it properly. And we are drifting to the right left, so let's correct our wings. 3017. Not sure what it is in inches mercury. I need to look it up very quickly. Okay, let me see it. 2953. No, hold on. (1021). That is the altimeter setting. 1021. Roughly about there, I guess, is what our altimeter setting is. We drifted a little bit, so let's correct our course and get back on track. We need to go right to heading 190. I'm watching this directional gyro and my compass at the same time, and watching my engine temperatures and engine pressures. Pressure is getting high, so we might have to do something about it. It's at the limit, so we can cut the throttles a little bit and keep turning. Hopefully it will not go over and give us some problems, and as we climb into the cold air it should come down. So we need to keep climbing and hunting the signal. Let's turn a little bit more. So the signal is becoming a little bit more solid as we turn. It's getting better. So we are at 190. We'll go a little bit because we drifted, so we will go a little bit towards 200 and try to see if we are going to get a solid tone if we travel like this. Let's keep our wings level. Right. So what we are hearing now? Almost a solid tone coming back, I guess. We are getting close to our course and we are climbing. Nice and easy. We might use a little bit more trim to climb a little bit faster to help with the oil temperature and oil pressure. That's almost a solid tone we are getting now. Let's turn this off for a little bit and we will turn it on after a while to see if it's changed, because it's quite annoying, to be honest. Alright, we can change our fuel tank to left main to balance the fuel. A lot of things that you need to be aware of and monitor when you fly this aircraft. And we are drifting, so maybe we need to use some trim to keep the wings level. Let's see if this will help. using some aileron trim to center this. That is probably a good setting now. Yep, we are flying level now. Oops, what happened? That was an interesting weather change, I guess, thanks to Microsoft Flight Simulator. But we are getting a solid tone now, almost. You need to keep climbing. I'm not liking the oil pressure here, so it's at the limit. Maybe that was a wind change which rendered our trim useless, so we need to go the opposite way, I guess, to trim for level flight. Let's see if we can trim like this. I'm not making any input to make sure I am trimming nicely. No, it's not. That's more like it. It's constant battle between aircraft and myself. I guess I need to do some manual input to keep her level. And that is a solid signal to me. If we follow this, we should end up at our destination airport. So I will turn it off for a while and fly this heading and bring you guys back when we are closer to see if this worked out. Alright friends, mid-flight report. We are still operational. We haven't killed our engines, and we are following the beam. Not as solid as I would like, but I think this is not going to be a huge issue because I know I'm very close to the center of that beam. What I'm doing is I'm trying to maintain a level flight. Our oil temperature came down and pressures are good, and to be able to do that I have to close the carburetor heat and all shutters to maintain oil temperature so that the pressure is not too high and oil is not too thick. That will promote higher pressure. So that works. As the oil warms up, it becomes less thick or more viscous. That will lower the pressure, and that's why I was getting high oil pressure, because the oil was too thick to move through the oil system. Right now we are almost well, we passed the halfway, and I'm maintaining a level flight. I'm following the beam and trying to maintain what you hear. We have very strong crosswind coming at 23 knots from our tail, from our right side, so that's why it's not super easy to maintain the beam, because you have to compensate for the wind and make sure you are not drifting and whatnot. So all in all, I think we're fine. We are following the beam as much as close as possibly we can, as close as we possibly can, and it's working now. So we are going to track it like this and see where we end up. One thing to note here is when you will get above the station, the radios will go silent, okay? And when they do so, that means we are overhead the station, which means the airport should be on our right side, if you remember the flight plan from Little Nav map. So I'm gonna turn right a little bit to see if I can get that solid tone back. There we go. And this is what I did. I moved left and right as I lost the tone. to get back on this kind of tone to stay on course and see where I will end up with. Alright, the temperatures are increasing, or the oil pressure is increasing again, and we have to start thinking about descent and maybe slowly start descending a little bit, maybe 100-200 feet per minute. To be ready for our landing. Alright, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't want you to listen to this annoying radio sound. I will bring you guys back when we are getting close to the station. Come back, friends. We are close and still tracking the beam like we did and descending for our destination airport. Radios will go silent, which will tell us that we are overhead and we need to make a right turn. And the airport should be on our right side in the distance. So we are trying to follow the beam as much as we possibly can, staying on the same track and hearing the same tone that we heard all trip long. And it's getting more solid as we get closer. So we lost the beam a little bit, so we are catching up to that again. Alright. And it's silencing as you hear. So now the beam is gone. So we need to turn right and follow the same beam on a track of 289er. We should start hearing that again, and that should get us to our destination. Oil temperature, oil pressure looking good. We are at coming up to 4,000 feet, and we started to hear the signal again, so we will keep turning. And we will slow the aircraft down a little bit to make the turn a little bit sharper. But we should see the airport in front of us. Alright, so that is... And we will pass overhead and do a traffic pattern to land. I think this is what was done back in the day. When you locate the airport, you do a downwind, and that should be the airport in front of us. See that? That is the airport. So let's turn off the radio now, because we don't need it. It did its job. I see the lights at the distance. We need to cut the throttle down and keep descending and slow the aircraft down, because we need to get down to the traffic pattern altitude, or we might end up landing from here, because that seems to be runway 33. So let's turn right and intercept the runway heading, and the runway heading is 335, so that's runway heading, and we are going to try to get to 335 to intercept the runway heading, and we need to keep descending at the same time. I'm gonna open the carb heat levers. I don't want any engine problems when we are landing, and I'm gonna also open the oil shutters to have them open. Alright, let's take a look at the right. Can we see the airport in the distance? It should be somewhere there. There it is. Alright, my cursor disappears when I do this, but the airport is right in front of our nose. So we'll do a sharp turn. Let's not do a very sharp turn though. Let's ease the speed and keep turning and keep coming down. If we are too fast and too high, we will do a traffic pattern and come back and land, but we are turning towards the airport now. Airport elevation is 35 feet. That is the runway you see in front of us. and we are still a little bit high, so we need to cut the throttles a little bit more. Not too much though, because we might lose the engines if we reduce the power too much. We'll go full RPM for landing. Should be okay now. We should slow down and come back to runway heading and line up and try to land this aircraft. Or we will just pass, do a go around, but I don't think it will be necessary. We are very close and we should be able to slow down for landing. There's the airport. We need to bring the airspeed down. We are aiming for the runway threshold now and slowing the aircraft down. We will descend like this. Speed should come down. And we need to drop the gear to slow us down and generate more drag. So let's slowly drop the gear. It should help with the speed. And we are going to lift the nose. We are too high, so we might as well do a go around maybe, but we'll try to see if we can land like this. I know it's not ideal approach, too steep, but we didn't maintain the altitude or manage the altitude very well. But we have a long runway. We shouldn't have any problems to stop. So she should slow down quite a bit when we pitch the nose up and get back to that landing speed. Alright, we need to use a little bit side slip to center the runway. And there we go. And keep her like that. She should touch down. No problem. Using some rudder to... I think we are down now. And we are down. Now we can apply brakes and maintain the center line. As I said, not ideal landing, but this aircraft can land very slow and we have quite a bit of runway. So we shouldn't have any problems slowing down. And there we go. Alright, looks like we made it, guys. And we need to find an exit to vacate the runway, and that will take us to the terminal building. So there you have it. Full flight with Boeing 247D with radio range navigation. So not too bad if you ask me. Still a lot to learn, especially around engine management, but I think the radio range navigation is, you don't have to hunt for a real solid tone. If you can get it close, it will take you to your destination. So that's what you aim for. At least that's what I figured in my test flights and my preview flights of this aircraft. So we'll take this exit. We'll turn off our landing lights are turned off already, or maybe I didn't even turn them on. That's fine. The purpose was to, demonstrate the landing and radio range navigation on a full flight. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I liked this aircraft and flying it, to be honest. Very nice aircraft indeed, and a lot of challenges, but it is also rewarding if you overcome those challenges and maintain a steady navigation path and a flight while monitoring your systems. Alright, we should have a terminal building on our right side, right there, so we will use that taxiway in front of us to turn right and find the parking spot and end the video there. Alright, almost there. I find it quite hard to taxi in this aircraft because of that tail dragger style and nose being high, which makes it a little bit hard to see the taxiway around you. Alright, so we overshot that turn a little bit, looks like, but we will turn here and go find a parking spot somewhere in front of us and let our passengers out when we stop and shut down our engines. There could be a good spot to park this aircraft, so I think I'm gonna take this next left. Go find a spot over there maybe. I don't see parking positions. It's just moving around, so we will just come over here. I'm not sure if the taxi markings are correct or if I'm at the correct terminal building for this airport, but we will not stress about this. We will just stop here and set the parking brake. Parking brake is set, and now we can shut down our engines. Beautiful. There we go. Alright, now we can turn off our avionics master switch. No need to draw more amps. Magnetos to off. And remember, where you set leave this aircraft will be the state that you will find it when you come back. Alright, prop RPM all the way back. Throttles are closed. Valves are closed. Nav lights are off. And we can bring our tablet and tell our agents to deboard the aircraft. Let's do this very quickly and make it so. And we can also do the same for the mail. But here you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. As I said before, if you did, consider giving a like, and if you stumbled upon this video and not a channel subscriber, consider subscribing and turning on the notifications to get notified for future episodes. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.